I have Ben Masters here. He is the filmmaker of Unbranded, and you took a journey. You went on like a 3,000-mile journey. Is that right?
That's correct.
So going where? From Mexico to Canada?
We did. We decided to adopt 16 wild mustangs from the BLM.
Because everyone does that. They're like, let's see, I could ride or I could just wrangle up some wild horses.
Well, we didn't actually go out and wrangle them.
Yeah, who did?
The BLM goes out and they gather these wild horses with helicopters for population control.
That's right.
And then they put them in these holding facilities. So we went to one of these holding facilities, looked through about 300 horses that they had there, and we chose the horses to do for our trip. We trained them and then went from Mexico to Canada through Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana.
So I want to talk about your trip.
You should do it.
I'm going to do that. It's going to happen. But I also want to ask you too, though, just even about the wild mustangs. What happens to the mustangs when the BLM does round them up and they're just in this holding tank?
Sure. So the Bureau of Land Management has what they call the appropriate management level, which across the West is 27,000 horses. So whenever horses get above that number, they are supposed to go and gather them with bait traps, water traps, or with helicopters, and then get them adopted out to the general public. The problem, though, is that the demand for people adopting horses isn't meeting the amount of horses that they're gathering off the range. So they've begun to just put them into these holding facilities. And right now, there's about 50,000 horses and burros that are living in holding facilities, short-term and long-term.
And where is this at? In Nevada?
They're in Nevada. A lot of them are in the Great Plains. They lease out pastures, and the horses will live there for the rest of their lives. And it's just a really, it's not fair for the horse. They go from this wild existence into living in a pen. And then, it's super expensive. I mean, they spent like $50 million last year just feeding horses.
That's amazing. What is their concern? Are they concerned like wild mustangs will go rampant? Because, I mean, to me, it seems rare when you see wild mustangs. Even going up into some of the foothills above Reno, for example, you might see a couple.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they have to control the population is, they're an introduced species, and they came over. Horses, our wild horses are descendants of, all the horses that became free as pioneers went west. So they've only been in North America for a few hundred years. So ecologically, most wildlife managers consider them to be, an invasive species, and we can't just treat them like a feral hog or something like that. I mean, they have played a very important role in the history of the West. The difficulty is, like, how many horses do we need, and how are we going to handle the overpopulation of horses whenever they reach that mark.
So you wanted to tell us about your intention then for making the film and how you wanted to use your experience of going from Mexico to Canada as an example and model of just, the beauty of the animal, and what was your intention?
So our intention with the film was, one, to show people that, this crisis exists, this problem exists with these horses, and then also to show people that, they're also really good horses, and people get so caught up in the politics of wild horse management that they miss the fact that these are really hardy animals that, if properly trained, can be absolutely fantastic horses for riding.
So you guys, you and a couple of friends, how many horses did you take on this journey?
We took 16 horses.
16. And did you guys train these horses?
We did. We used the help of 2 professional trainers for the first 30 days, and they kind of, taught the horses the basics, and then from that point we trained them for about 2 months, 3 months, and then we did the trip starting April 1st, 2013.
And has this always been a passion of yours? Like, did you know what you were doing initially when you said, let's ride 3,000 miles? Like, are you a cowboy horse guy? Like, is it in your blood already? Or was this something entirely new to you?
You know, this kind of culture, that lifestyle has always been very intriguing to me, but I didn't really get into it until I was 19. I spent the summer working for an outfitter in Colorado, and I just fell in love with backcountry horsemanship, and doing something big and on this grand of a scale has been intriguing to me since then.
So tell me about, how did you guys pan out your route? And did you have to cross the Rockies in doing this too?
We did. So
Okay.
we did the Arizona Trail through Arizona, and then Utah was actually really difficult. We pieced together public lands all the way through Utah. Then we tied into the Continental Divide Trail just south of, or in Yellowstone country. Went through Yellowstone, but I mean, we got to see just the most amazing places. You know, Saguaro National Park, the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, Teton Wilderness, Glacier. It was unbelievable.
What did people think when 16 semi-wild Mustangs pull up to the corral or the restaurant or grocery store or whatever when you had to resupply?
We got some pretty interesting looks, and we met some characters. Most people, to be honest, were really jealous, though. I mean, who doesn't want to go ride a Mustang from Mexico to Canada?
Sure.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, 3,000 miles. It's a long way. What was the craziest thing that happened? Because, you know, for example, in the promo, it talks about danger.
Have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't yet. I'm going to go see it now.
I think the craziest thing that happened was probably when we had this horse that started to eat this bad cactus, and it got all this cactus in its face. And then one of the guys was trying to help it and pulled the cactus out. And the horse ended up clobbering him in the head, and then that set another horse off who swung his tail and got cactus like all over everybody. And then he went bucking off and created this big mayhem. It was.
Do you have any moments then when you guys just went, like, you're the one that wanted to do this trip and bring all these wild horses? Did you ever have that moment?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would think it would happen at some point. How many days were you guys on the trail?
The journey took us 5 months and 6 days.
Wow. And so what season did you start in?
We started April 1st near Nogales, Arizona, and finished September 6th in Glacier National Park.
Okay. So did you have to deal with any intense weather?
Yes.
Okay. And that's all in the movie.
Yeah.
You have to see Unbranded, right? So everything probably, snow,
Oh
rain,
yeah,
the
we were
elements.
hot, we were cold, we were wet, we were frozen, we were miserable, but it was also, I mean, just an incredible experience.
Would you
and
do
the
it
sights
again?
that we got to see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would love
You are
to
going to do it again. What's your next adventure you have planned? Or next project?
So this is a crazy story, but we met a guy on our journey, and he came with us for 2 days, and he lost his arm and a bunch of ribs, and we were asking him how he did it. And he actually was involved in an electric accident, and then he got cancer on top of that, and then almost lost his life. And we have footage of this entire process, and now he's recovering and doing marathons and triathlons and just kicking ass at life in general. So we're going to tell his story through a documentary, and
Very cool.
and that's called Charged.
Charged. Which is charged?
Charged.
What's his name?
Eduardo Garcia.
Okay. It's so interesting when you get out there, right, and just embark on adventures and have the courage to do that. It's amazing how other people and stories like that will show up in your life and just start taking you in a whole other direction. It's all on purpose, though, too. It's fascinating. That's cool. All right, we'll have to keep our eyes out for that. Maybe come back to Wild and Scenic Film Fest.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Very cool. What would be your message to everyone, you know, in your takeaway with this story and your experience, and how you want to transfer that to just people, you know, in our everyday lives, and both supporting the work you're doing and just how to even embody living our lives to our fullest?
Boy, it's kind of a big question there.
You could take a sec. I'm going to give you 60 seconds, Ben.
You know, I guess whenever we started this thing, we weren't filmmakers. We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. And we literally like scrambled $5,000 for a 5D Mark III, did a Kickstarter video, and all of a sudden had like $250,000 in cash. And then we made a movie, and like people actually like it, and it's making a quantitative difference for wild horse management. So
Cool.
I don't know. I don't really consider myself very special, and if I can make a difference, I think a lot of other people can too. It's just kind of taking the plunge, I guess.
Cool. Getting out there. All right. Thanks so much, Ben.
That goal of reaching the Canadian line isn't as powerful as the impact that going through this land has made on me.
Don't get below that horse!
You would definitely be able to describe this as a passion project. You're looking at video that was created for a Kickstarter campaign. This is Ben Masters, and he had this entire idea to travel 3,000 miles on a Mustang that had been wild at one point.
A lot of people think that they're too wild, when in reality, a lot of these wild Mustangs are really good stock.
He had brought along 3 of his best buddies to do this. Now, you probably are wondering, well, why is this a Kickstarter campaign? Because he wanted to make a film about this entire journey. The whole idea was to raise awareness about wild Mustangs. Each year, the Bureau of Land Management rounds up some wild Mustangs. They go into captivity, and there are currently thousands of wild Mustangs waiting to be adopted.
What do we do with the excess wild horses that we have to remove?
5 states, 6 months through some of the most beautiful terrain in the American West, from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada. So many people were so moved by just this video, they raised $173,000 to make their dream a reality. They completed the trip. The film has just been edited, and we have Ben Masters via Skype right this minute. Welcome to the show. We think you are pretty amazing.
Wow, you guys describe me a lot cooler than I really am.
Tell us about how this came to be. Why such a passion for Mustangs?
They're really good horses, some of them are at least. And also that it can still be done in 2015 and that we have that much public land out there. And that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Ben, help me understand the idea of taking wild horses, wild animals out of the wild and keeping them in captivity.
The whole premise around it is rangeland management. So the land can only support X amount of animals. They have to go out and round them up off the range so that there's not too many of them. There's just this surplus of horses. And a lot of people aren't even aware, as taxpayers, we're paying for 50,000 wild horses and burros a year. I mean, it's like $75 million a year that they're putting into the programs.
Now, you called this film that you shot Unbranded. What can we expect? What can we see in that footage?
It's pretty powerful. It's intense. Traveling 3 miles per hour, it makes the world a lot bigger. Personal drama.
Hang on, bringing him out.
Stopped at some rodeos.
Give him hell, Tommy!
We got some stuff that nobody's ever seen before on footage. So.
Don't get below that horse!